All right, so the next exercise for back is the almighty deadlift. Everybody knows it, everybody fears it. You all should be doing it, but you should be doing it right. So let's make sure that we teach you the optimal way. Pay very close attention to the small intricacies that Vic's doing here and the things that I point out. And in no time, you're gonna have a really strong lower back, a really strong core, and your back development that you're looking for. Let's do it. First things first, we're gonna take, you see people take, you take your alternating grip, or you take an overhand or underhand grip. Let's just take a basic overhand grip for today. When you start getting really, really heavy weights, then you can start incorporating the other grips. Vic's head is going to be in a neutral position, looking straight ahead. His back is really, really flat. Most important thing here is a really flat back, so your chest is up. I don't want any rounding in your back. When you're doing a deadlift for your back, your most important thing is actually you're bending your knees. You want to make sure your lower back is flat, and you're thinking about the degree of hip flexion, degree of hip movement is the most important factor. So all the way down to the ground, chest stays up, and you're going to stand right up. Now the things that we say Vic is doing that you don't see, he's actually consciously trying to keep his hips back at the top, so his hips stay back. You see a lot of people shove their hips way forward. Pause for a second, Vic, shove your hips forward. So we don't want to do that. That's going to put a lot of strain on the lower back unnecessarily, and take the tension off of our lats and mid-back. So Vic keeps his hips back, and he actually leans his shoulders back and contracts down on the lat. Okay, hips stay back, shoulders roll back. Awesome. Good. Notice the tempo. Really controlled. Position of his back doesn't change. Good. Good. Some of the key points that I get, or some of the key questions I get asked. Well, I'm tall, should I be doing deadlifts? My legs are really long. Yeah, absolutely you can do deadlifts if you're doing them right in a controlled environment. You may want to not do them off the floor the way Vic does. You may want to just do them off a slight rack. The proper height for a rack elevation deadlift is just slightly below the knees, maybe 2 to 3 inches below the knees, where you'd come down and stand up. And now when you're doing them off the rack, there's going to be a little less knee involvement, a little less knee bending. There'd be mostly hip movement. So it may just look like this, where I come down slightly below my knees and stand up, versus if I were going all the way to the floor, I'd bend down and then I would drop my butt into it. So the exercise Vic is executing, or the way he's executing, is just a conventional deadlift. It's a power exercise, definitely a mass construction exercise. Whenever you're ready. Good. Notice the controlled tempo on the negative. Really important. Really flat back. He actually pauses on the floor rather than bouncing it as some people do. Let's get ensure proper tension in the right place. Every time Vic puts that weight on the floor, he's analyzing, where's my body in space? Where do I feel the tension? Is it equal on left to right? You want to be thinking about very important things. Do I feel twisted at all? Does everything feel safe? Are all these variables okay? And then he goes. It's a very quick analysis. Are all these components safe to do this next rep? If not, don't do it. If you're not going in such a controlled fashion that you can actually assess all these variables, then it's time to slow down. So Vic brings up a great point here is, you see a lot of people doing this as a power mass construction exercise, and they feel, you want to do your heaviest things and your compound movements at the beginning of the workout. That's not necessarily true. I like to do, someone who's looking to build your back and your lats and get more of a V taper, it's actually to your advantage to do all these other exercises first and save a deadlift for the end. One, you're not going to be using as much weight. Two, you'll probably be safer and more warmed up. But then you're going to really be exhausting all those muscle fibers that are left in your back. When you get to a certain point in your training, you're using such a ridiculously heavy amount of weight to really fatigue your lower back and fatigue a deadlift, that it actually just, it may be to your advantage to save it to the end where you're using a little bit less weight, because it's so exhausting to your whole body, your whole system to do deadlifts at the beginning where it's, 700, 800 pounds is fatiguing to your whole system. You may not have energy to get into the rest of the workout and complete those necessary last reps to build a proper back. Whereas the deadlift is more of a lower back exercise, although it does work the lat and it really works the whole body. It has a great hormonal benefit, things like that. But if you're unable to finish the rest of your workout because you're so exhausted from your deadlifts, you may not be able to get the type of growth you're looking for in your upper back. So we choose to use it a lot of the time at the end of our workout when we've already exhausted our upper back and now just to fatigue those last muscle fibers and really burn out the lower back. So basically going to do his last set here. Pay special attention to execution, tempo, chest is up. He's getting a lot of hip movement, a lot of bending at the hips, but again also some bending and flexion at the knees. So awesome. The only other thing I like to touch on here is variations. Wide, narrow, narrow hand, wide hand position. What do we use? And what are the benefits of each? Well, again, it's variation. That's all it is we're looking for stimulate muscles in different planes at different times. We may incorporate every one of them into our workouts. If you're looking for optimal recruitment and optimal power, you actually want to be relatively narrow in your stance. Maybe just a neutral shoulder grip. Shoulder width is probably the position we use most often. Just try to keep your body kind of in a neutral position as opposed to putting in any mechanical advantage or disadvantage. So everything has its place, but if you're looking for optimal growth, again, the thing that I preach is in straight lines. So hip, knees, ankles, straight lines. So you're about shoulder width, and again, straight lines for my ankle or for my shoulders, my elbows, and my wrists.